How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a video on depreciated super saloons. Now, super saloons have a really rich history of some stunning cars, for example, the Lotus Carlton. And more recently, a lot of brands have gone into creating super saloons because they are ultimately quite practical and also really fast. And so, in this video, I'm going to go through 5 of them I think are particularly interesting offerings that are all relatively recent and have depreciated pretty significantly in value. By the way, they're ordered from slowest to fast from 0 to 60 because obviously the quickest one is the Super-Saloon. Remember that I'm in the UK, so prices in other countries may differ, and remember that whenever you buy any second-hand car, maintenance, repairs, insurance, road tax, all that good stuff is important to remember. Remember to hit the like button if you enjoy it, subscribe as well if you're new, but without further ado, let's get into the video. But before we get into the super saloons, I wanted to say a massive thank you to the amazing sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Now, they have very recently given me access to their platform, which offers thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including illustration, design, photography, freelancing, and more. And for the first 1,000 subscribers to hit the link in the description or the pinned comment, you will also gain access to a free premium membership trial. So if you're early to the video, make sure you click down below. Now, as I mentioned, Skillshare has a whole bunch of different inspiring classes for you to learn from. For me in particular, the key thing that I'm looking to learn from Skillshare is productivity. I have a full-time job. I do YouTube on the side, making 2 videos every week. I'm also trying to buy a house at the moment. My life is carnage. I really need to be better at being as productive as possible and making the most out of my time. Skillshare has a whole bunch of amazing creators on it making incredible content on how to be productive, which I can learn from. It's created specifically for learning and discovery, meaning there are no advertisements and there are always new premium classes for you to take advantage of. And once you've gone past the free trial period, memberships are literally just over 70 quid a year, which is just unreal for that level of learning. So if you're interested, click the link in the description down below. Make sure you're one of the first 1,000 people to get in there to get that nice free premium membership. And as I said, a massive thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Let's kick this video off with the exceptionally rare Jaguar XFR-S, which is a 5-litre supercharged V8 engine, putting out 542 brake horsepower, which takes from 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. When it was new in 2013, adjusted for inflation, the XFR-S cost just over £93,000, but now you'll find them listed for around £30,000, meaning annual depreciation of around 9%. On release, it was Jaguar's fastest ever saloon, aiming to be a more savage version of the performance XFR, in order to destroy rivals like the BMW M3 and Mercedes E63 AMG. It shares its engine with the similarly savage XKR-S, and the added body stylings like the front splitter and large rear wing actually provide additional aero over the standard XFR, with a 68% reduction in lift. It also has wider track than the standard car and stiffer suspension, as well as some other aesthetic changes like the alloys. It's clearly not a subtle car on the exterior, but the interior isn't too different to an XFR, despite the fact that Jaguar say XFR means luxury and XFR-S means performance, so you'd have thought it might be a bit more bare bones in there, but whatever. The sound is pretty exceptional too, throaty and loud with the customary Jaguar pops and bangs you might expect. This is basically a predecessor to the Project 8, which took over as Jaguar's fastest and rarest saloon, although obviously not quite on the same level. One thing I'd note though is that owners do complain about the car not being particularly comfortable. That extra S definitely focuses and stiffens up the car in a way that means it's not as much fun as luxury examples on uneven surfaces. But it's not really meant to be a comfortable car. In my books, complaining that a super saloon isn't comfortable to drive is like complaining that water is wet. The car isn't supposed to make you feel comfy, it's supposed to make you go fast. Unfortunately, as the car is so rare, there isn't much on how reliable they are. Electrical problems aren't uncommon on normal XFRs, but the 5-litre block is proven to be pretty strong as long as it's serviced on time or every 15,000 miles. Owners also note the cars get through consumables like tyres and brake pads relatively quickly, so worth budgeting for this. Next up, we have the only saloon on this list that is specifically for luxury, the Bentley Flying Spur, with the 6-litre twin turbocharged W12 engine, putting out 616 brake horsepower, more than any other car on this list, which gets it from 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Not bad for a car that weighs 2.5 tons. Adjusted for inflation, these were £165,000 when new, which makes this car the most expensive on this list too, and now you'll find them listed for as low as £43,000, meaning 9% annual depreciation as well. £50,000 is where you'll find the majority of decent examples today. For this generation of the Flying Spur, Bentley dropped the Continental name to stop the confusion between this and the GT and took the flying Spur down the more luxurious route, aiming to make it a competitor to cars like the Rolls-Royce Ghost. This was partly to have a greater impact in the Chinese market, which made up 60% of the car's sales, as in China at the time there was more interest in luxurious, softly sprung and fancy looking cars. And that luxury is very obvious on the interior, with 600 individual pieces of cabin trim which all comes together to make a magnificent place to be. Ultra premium materials with few expenses spared throughout. If you go for a Mulliner package, you can even get a champagne cooler between the rear seats, not bad at all. But don't assume that just because this car is luxury focused that it isn't a super saloon. That W12 will get you moving effortlessly all the way up to 200 miles per hour, which is more than any other car on this list. Some owners have however complained that the brakes don't seem right for a car that can go that fast, but everyone still gasses up the car's exceptional ride quality. So if the XFR-S wasn't for you, maybe this is. Coil packs are one key issue to look out for, and W12s have been known to suffer from leaking vacuum lines. In the absolute worst situations, these have had head gasket failure, but that isn't super common. Water can collect in the scuttle drain if you don't keep it clear, which can cause electrical issues with the fuse box and ECU as well, so make sure you check it every once in a while, particularly in autumn and winter. On to the top 3 now, and in third we have the Mercedes C63 AMG, which has a 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, putting out 469 brake horsepower, which takes from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. When new, it was £67,000 adjusted for inflation, but you'll now find these listed for under £30,000, with many available for around £35,000. This means depreciation of around 10% annually. That engine is similar to that you'll find in the AMG GT sports car, and though it's not quite as powerful as the C63S, it still provides significant performance for the money, and it's really not that much slower to 60. Originally, a lot of people weren't happy with the switch from the 6.2 naturally aspirated V8 block in the previous generation to this smaller turbocharged block, but ultimately it's a benefit to the wallet, as according to Mercedes, it consumes 32% less fuel than the previous generation. The car also benefits from a 7-speed automatic transmission, as well as more intelligent suspension damping that enables better ride that adapts to different surfaces and purposes. So you can cruise in comfort but also smash the car around a track for the afternoon. Although again, when I say comfort, I mean more comfort than in race mode, as owners still know it's not supposed to be a luxury car. Of course, massive brakes come as standard, and to try to make the most of the sound, you get quad exit exhausts. Even though it isn't the 6.2 litre V8, I still think it actually sounds pretty good, helped by the fact that it's still a V8. The interior is pretty lush too. Mercedes always seem to be able to make the most out of their cabin space, with multiple options from factory in terms of materials. I personally am a fan of the carbon fibre trim, but there are other options available too. The seats are also ultra comfortable, which is a key benefit, and the digital display is pretty comprehensive. Key problems owners have noted are squeaks coming from the dashboard in colder weather, door panels buzzing when the speakers are on, low oil warning lights turning on when the car still has ample oil, and a strangely configured gearbox which requires some getting used to. Just a reminder, if you're enjoying the video, please hit the like button. 1,000 likes and I will make this video again, but at like a £10,000 price range or something like that. Just missing out on the top spot, we have the BMW M3 Competition, which has actually held its value better than every other car on this list. When it was released in 2012, adjusted for inflation, it started at £76,000, and now you'll find them around the £31,000 mark, with many decent ones for 40k, which is an annual depreciation of 6.6%. This German beast is a 3-litre twin turbocharged inline-6, putting out 443 brake horsepower, which gets from 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. Now I haven't driven an M3 comp, but I have driven the M4, which shares the same chassis and block, and I can confirm the car is very, very quick. It has ample torque all the way through the rev range and gives a really solid shunt in the back when you hammer the throttle, matched with a reasonable soundtrack. I wouldn't say it's the best sounding car on this list, and it definitely doesn't sound as good as the V8 in the E90 M3, but it's satisfying enough and it doesn't feel any less grunty. The interior is sporty but comfortable, which is helpful in a car with this level of power, as it reminds you that you're ultimately in an executive saloon and not a race car, despite the performance. The brakes are absolutely nuts. They grab almost immediately and are almost a bit too much for everyday driving. If you hit into the back of someone in one of these, you are either literally tailgating them from an inch away or you weren't paying attention. In comp spec, some tweaks to the chassis and the recalibrated LSD help to settle the rear of the car a bit too, and ultimately make it handle a bit more predictably. Also worth noting, the majority of these were sold with the DCT automatic box, which changes quickly enough with that classic fart between the gears, but you could also go for a manual, though these are much rarer. In terms of problems, a minor collection of F80s have had catastrophic issues with the crank hub, but this really isn't common. The DCT box has proven to have longevity, and the engines have also proven to carry on working. If you take a look on forums, you'll see a lot of positivity around the dependability of these. Taking the top spot in this video is also the most depreciated car, the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, which has dropped from around £65,000 adjusted in 2016 to around £32,000 now, which is approximately 10% annually. £40,000 is the ideal price for a decent example though. This has the smallest engine on this list, a 2.8 litre twin turbocharged V6, but it still puts out 502 brake horsepower, which gets from 0 to 60 in a list topping time of 3.8 seconds. Alfa wanted to compete with the C63 and M3 mentioned previously on this list, so made a car that was quicker than both. That engine is a masterpiece, all aluminium, designed by Ferrari technicians specifically for this car, and with a direct relation to the engine block you'll find in the Ferrari California T. This is what enables the V6 to be as punchy as it is. Not only is it quick, it also benefits from having an efficiency feature that's becoming ever more commonplace on performance cars. It switches off 3 cylinders when they're unneeded, effectively turning the car into an inline 3, which makes fuel consumption improve dramatically up to 33 miles per gallon. Compared with the standard Quadrifoglio, it of course has a more aggressive body styling, but it also gains an active aero splitter that can move around 10 degrees to generate maximum downforce when required. Linked with the diffuser and venturi tunnels underneath, this enables the car to generate 100 kilograms of downforce at 186 miles per hour. On top of all of this, the car has a torque vectoring rear diff and carbon ceramic brakes to certify the car's super-saloon status. The interior is also stunning in my opinion. If you can't tell by now, I actually really like this car and I would love to have one as a daily in the future. You'll be glad to hear as well that so far reliability has been relatively positive on these, but many won't have even left their warranty periods yet, as this is the newest car on this list, so one to maybe be aware of in the future. But for now, there are probably countless miles of blissful Italian class and super saloon performance ahead for the lucky owners. So I hope you enjoyed this video or learned something new. Again, a massive thank you to the sponsor of this video being Skillshare. I really do appreciate it. Remember, 1,000 likes and I'll do this video again at under £10,000. Massive thanks to the patrons as always, and to you guys as well for watching. I'll see you in the next one.